things. It's kind of like Twitter. Twitter, like if you have really hateful, sort of nasty tweets, and they're directed towards the great punching bag of our time, which is the white American male, you'll get to keep your Twitter account. You'll get to keep it. Now, I'm not a huge fan of David Duke for a few reasons, but Twitter took away his Twitter account. It took away Milo's account. You see, I think that if you're going to do that, then Twitter needs to be really, 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 granular and start taking other accounts away. Or they need to have everybody be able to be on Twitter and just say whatever they want. It's either all or completely moderated, and moderated across the board, like stringent. It's either got to be, I don't know, like Amsterdam or Indonesia. Amsterdam, you get away with anything, right? Indonesia, you steal a stick of gum and they'll cut your hand off. Maybe that's why there's this allure towards Wahhabism. Not a lot of theft takes place, theoretically. But yeah, we're at this place now where we've got roughly a year with Saturn in Sagittarius, which is on the galactic center, which is the center, theoretically, of the universe, right? The mind of God, emitting neutrinos, the thoughts of God across the galaxy. Now, it could be, this supermassive black hole, which is going to consume everything and turn us into an anti-universe, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's going to happen. But it's an important part of this Saturn retrograde. It's right there. It's going to be on the galactic center for 3 months. It's a long time. It's a long time to station for a planet. So we're getting to the core of things. I put up this post on Facebook yesterday, and the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, is going to create like a fusion center in Silicon Valley. Why? To moderate hate speech. No, it's to moderate people that are beginning to wake up and to speak truth to power. Because if people wake up and all of a sudden, when you're dealing in truth as a currency, everything collapses. Everything collapses. Everything. And you could just check the boxes. 9/11, Kennedy, World War II, the moon landings. By the way, the moon landing, most of us know it's fake. But when the true node goes into Cancer 2 years from now, the moon landing is going to be exposed. We're going to see the exposure. That's going to be awkward. That's going to be very, very awkward. But they're kind of massaging us to get used to that. So when it does happen, it's see, told you so. See, told you so. But then it's going to be, well, what really happened? Did we really go into space? What is space? What is the Earth? People start stroking their chins. So we've got about a year to nail some of this truth stuff down. Now, sometimes it'll take on a life of its own, like what we've been seeing with Saturn and Scorpio, and everything that started with Saturn and Scorpio, which is the uncovering. Saturn is a shovel. It's a steam shovel. It goes right into the Earth and starts to uncover things. And here we are, Saturn in Sagittarius. Now, apparently June 1st, circle that day in your calendar. I have not looked at it astrologically, but apparently that is when they're going to make a move on Trump. That's what I've heard. Now, I'm trying to figure this out. It's another one of these one-hand clapping kinds of moments in time. Because Trump is connected to a profound power base, which controls or has a very large hand in things like banking and the media. Okay? I mean, look at the people that are associated with him. Deep, deep pockets of Goldman Sachs and who's one of the guys at, what's his name? The guy. Oh, God, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Carl Icahn. Like, Carl Icahn is connected to Trump, and Icahn is this major kind of traitor, robber. But he's got all these people connected to him. And they're not insignificant. They are engaged in the power portals of our time in a very big way. And yet Trump is lashing out and railing against them. And yet his people are very close to them. You see, this is kind of strange, right? It reminds me of Andrew Breitbart and what Breitbart went through. I still think it's the neocons versus the neolibs. Anyway, but on June 1st, apparently they're going to make a move on Trump. So just circle that on your calendar and see what happens on June 1st. And that is going to be in the sign of Gemini. And that's where Mike Pence's moon is. You know, he's got that new moon in Gemini. I don't know if the new moon is then. I'd have to look it up. But we're in the Saturn and Sagittarius phase, and we need to get hip to the truth trip. It's not a popular thing. Truth is really... Illusion is much more interesting in many ways, right? Illusion, you can have magic. Ooh, look at this. Watch this hand. This hand's doing something else. It's much... Illusion and magic are much more interesting to some degree than truth on one level. But then you go deeper, and it's like all of a sudden, oh wow, this is really powerful. This is powerful stuff. And that's where we are. The Saturn and Sagittarius piece. Speaking of another truth piece, I put this out on Facebook. I get inundated, absolutely inundated with, you know, women who want me to like them and have them be my friend so I can go to their webcam. And I put it out there, and I said, you know, the internet's creating a planet of whores, male and female, because the women get it too. According to my Facebook feed, women get it from these kind of rugged men, right? And I had this one woman, she said, hey, you know, I'm not going to judge a woman's right to make a living. Well, that's fine. You don't have to judge a woman's right to make a living, except when that woman looks like she's about 16 years old, which some of these women look like. At which point it's like, really? Really? And how far do you want to take that thought about judge a woman's right to make a living? That's a really interesting thought. How far can you go with that? I mean, maybe we can go to an extreme, right? Like, so maybe there's a woman who's a high priestess, and you know, and she does a dark high priestess. She takes unborn babies out of women as part of a ritual, but she gets paid handsomely for it, right? Don't want to judge that. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. I mean, look, I'm just going to an extreme because sometimes I do that. But I get where she's coming from. Like, yeah, okay, judge not unless ye be shall be judged. But as kind of a public place, I'm getting inundated with these feeds, and I didn't want to support it. I'm sorry, I just don't want to support it. And I don't think Facebook should support it either. I think Facebook should shut this shit down. I know that they own Snapchat. I know it, and Mark Zuckerberg's got, you know, an investment in it. But shut it down. Shut it down. What if my kid gets on Facebook? And he will. He's 13 years old. And what if these chat cam babes want to be his friend? All of a sudden, my son he's a little naive. He's a nice kid. He's a little naive. Okay. Next thing you know, he's watching this woman, you know, squeeze her boobies and do whatever else she's doing, maybe even with her friend. And all of a sudden, you know, the innocence of my kid is corrupted at a point in time where he's not really ready for it. You know what I'm saying? the cat is just out of the bag. And I know kids can get on their cell phone and they can jam on internet porn in a way that, again, never before. And when I was a kid, one of my buddies had these playing cards with topless women on them. Boy, that was a big deal. And these women were from the late 1950s. I thought, oh my God, I got to have this deck of cards. I think they wound up at my house eventually. It's like that is in some ways really innocent. And now, my God, it's all there. It's all available. But maybe Mark Zuckerberg, you just do your part and shut that down. Because I shut it down all the time. One or two times I made a mistake. I was like, I thought the person was a real person. I said, oh, okay. They're friends with 5 other people. 5 other people made a mistake. Or maybe they didn't make a mistake. But that's a whole other story. And it's like all of a sudden, like, oh, shit. Now look what I'm getting inundated with. And then, take that out. But it was a very kind of a provocative post. Brought up a lot of stuff for people. And, I don't know. I think women need to be treated better. And that's our job as men, is to do that. And it's taken me about 56 years of my life to get to this point. I've had to do so much unlearning. I've had to really, deprogram a lot of stuff. And it's not, it's like everything that's happening now, I was doing when I was like 18 years old. The mindset and the thoughts. And I was right there when I was 18. And now I'm 55 and I can't, it's like, no, this is not a fit. This is just not a fit. It's not a fit philosophically, psychologically, emotionally. And I look back at myself and I look back on my life and some of the things that I did and some of the thoughts that I had, some of the things I thought were cool. And it's like, some of those things are still kind of lingering, because I was a heretic. I wanted to destroy things. I wanted to destroy conformity. I had Uranus and Leo in my first house cusp for most of my life in California. And now it's different. It's a whole different world. So I've been in the process of deprogramming myself since the early 2000s. That's when it started. When I started to look at my assumptions, that started when I started to look at my belief systems, and some of them are very cherished. And I'll always thank Dave McGowan for writing The Laurel Canyon. So it made me revisit who I was into from the music world. And then I just went, well, who am I into in the entertainment world? And I started to look at them and look at their lives, look at their associations. Cross that name off, cross that name off, cross that name off, cross that name off. And at the end of the day, there are very few names left. Now, I still listen to music, but I don't have a deific relationship with music like I did when I was younger. And so I've been going through this deprogramming phase. And I feel like I'm a square now, I have to say. A lot of times I feel like a square. Because it was, it's in a weird way, it's a lot more fun to be deviant. It is. But at some point, the returns on deviance become less and less and less. And then you've got to move into a different kind of relationship with your emotions and your thoughts and your psyche. I guess it's called maturity, growing up. I don't know. But this is where I am now. And I think this is where a lot of people are. I think we're waking up and saying, well, that was a bunch of shit. We were sold a bill of goods. Yeah, we used to think that was cool. We used to think that this was interesting. We talked about this on the other night with them, with me and Emily and Randy on Off Planet. We got to it right at the end. We were talking about music, and we were talking about punk rock, and how I was very into punk when I was 16 years old. Man, it just kicked right into my central nervous system, my testosterone, my rebellion.